General Hospital spoilers tease that Cody and Molly seem to be stepping into a brand new chapter in their romantic lives, as the connection between them becomes increasingly clear and profound. The stolen glances, the seemingly coincidental encounters have turned into fated rendezvous, and a growing empathy is blossoming into a relationship that can no longer be denied. They are on the verge of becoming the newest couple in Port Charles, an unexpected turn of events unfolding in the most natural way. However, in a town where nothing comes easy, the love between Cody and Molly is also about to face a fresh, wild undercurrent, this time, stemming from the people closest to them. While Molly is rediscovering herself after the breakdown of her relationship with TJ, her recent choices could spell serious trouble for Cody, not just romantically, but also in terms of his reputation and social standing. Molly, a strong-willed lawyer, daughter of Alexis and member of the notoriously complicated and scandal-ridden Davis family, brings a whirlwind of instability into Cody's life, someone who's still struggling to prove himself and rebuild his name after years of being overlooked in Port Charles. The differences in their worlds, from status to history, are gradually pushing Cody into a risky position. And it hasn't taken long for Mac and Felicia to notice. As a father who watches Cody's every step, Mac feels uneasy seeing his son caught in a relationship that could spark political, emotional, and legal fallout. Felicia, with the seasoned intuition of someone who's seen it all, begins to spot red flags in Molly's behavior, her overly assertive nature, extreme determination, and her still strained relationship with her own family. Efforts to intervene are already quietly underway but carry significant weight. Mac bluntly advises Cody to reconsider before the relationship gets too deep, warning him that sometimes, love isn't enough to withstand a system as tangled as the Davis family. Felicia takes a gentler route, reaching out to Molly privately, checking in, but also offering a clear warning not to hurt Cody, a soft-spoken reminder filled with heavy implication. All of this is turning what seemed like a gentle romance between Cody and Molly into something far more intense. The pressure isn't coming from outsiders, but from the people they care about the most. Torn between the desire to follow their hearts and the expectations of their families, both Cody and Molly are being thrown into a challenge they never anticipated. Is their love strong enough to withstand judgment, fear, and ghosts of the past? Port Charles has never been a place where love blossoms easily, and Cody, who once thought of himself as just a bystander, is now at the center of an emotional storm. As for Molly, her increasingly bold personal choices are driving this relationship closer to the edge between freedom and chaos. And as the attempts to interfere grow stronger, so too does the battle between love and family, reaching a boiling point where every step could ignite the simmering fire. TJ never came back. His prolonged, unexplained absence left Molly's world in a cold and hollow silence. At first, she tried to reassure herself that it was just a distant medical assignment, a personal emergency, or a sudden work trip that kept him from reaching out. But as weeks turned into months, with no signal, no message, no sign that TJ was still out there, reality slowly crept into Molly's mind, quietly and cruelly. Maybe TJ was no longer part of her life. In the meantime, Molly had to keep living, stepping out each day, smiling as if everything was fine, while inside, her heart had been torn apart. But just as she was beginning to quietly heal, a thunderbolt struck, changing everything. Molly realized she might be pregnant. And not by anyone else, but by TJ. A child they once dreamed of raising together in a loving home now arrives under the most tragic of circumstances. With no TJ by her side, no shoulder to lean on, no soothing words or shared plans for the future, all that remains is shock, confusion, and a crushing loneliness. She couldn't quite believe the early signs, but the changes in her body, the emotional swings, the sleepless nights, all pointed to one undeniable truth: a new life was forming. And from that moment, Molly's world was never the same again. She now had to deal not just with the grief of losing TJ, but with the brutal reality ahead: she would become a mother. And the father of that child, if still alive, had no idea of this tiny soul's existence. No preparation, no plan, no perfect picture like she once imagined, just chaos, hard decisions, and watchful eyes all around. There was no time left to grieve. She had to choose. And just as she struggled to find balance in the chaos, another storm began to form. Her budding relationship with Cody, still just a flicker of hope in the darkness, was now facing a massive trial. Cody didn't know. He had no idea that the woman he was slowly opening his heart to, the one he felt such a deep connection with, was carrying a child that wasn't his. And just as Molly grappled with whether or not to tell the truth, everything around her began to crack. Mac, always protective of Cody, sensed something was off. Felicia, with her seasoned emotional radar, noticed the change in Molly's gaze whenever the future was mentioned. They didn't need many details to understand something big was happening, and they couldn't stand by while Cody was drawn into a complicated relationship he wasn't prepared for. Mac confronted Cody with a piercing look and stern words meant as a wake-up call. Felicia chose a softer route, approaching Molly, placing a hand on her shoulder, and gently asking if she was hiding something. Under the weight of expectations, unresolved emotions, and fear of losing everything, Molly started to falter. She couldn't tell the truth. But she couldn't lie either. Her silence only deepened the burden, and made Cody feel more adrift in the emotional storm of the woman he was falling for. And then came the emotional eruption. Molly couldn't hold it in anymore. She broke down, in the rain, in the quiet hospital courtyard where she once took TJ during a long shift. She told Cody everything, without holding back. And as the final words left her lips, as the truth spilled out, the space between them seemed to stretch to its limits. Cody stood silent. No clear reaction. No anger. No heartbreak. Just a long, quiet look, one that carried a hint of something breaking. Molly's story, from losing TJ, to an unexpected pregnancy, to entering a new relationship in confusion, has become the eye of a storm sweeping through Port Charles. Each person involved carries their own perspective. And every action only complicates things further. There is no right or wrong now, only choices and consequences. And at the center of it all stands a young woman fighting to hold on to a future, even as everything around her threatens to drag her down. But Molly still stands, still moves forward, because now, she no longer lives just for herself. She lives for a small, silent life growing within her, and for a truth she can no longer hide. Cody and Molly, two names that once seemed like they would never intersect, are now writing a storyline more profound and intense than anything Port Charles has ever witnessed. They began as strangers, accidentally finding each other during a time when both were wounded and struggling with unnamed losses. But now, standing amidst heartbreak and the horrifying truth about Christina, they are no longer just two people holding hands through the storm. They are a union, an unexpected alliance, facing one of the darkest, most complex threats to ever emerge from within a family. Christina, once the radiant sunshine of the Davis household, the sincere-hearted younger sister, has become the center of a web of conspiracies and crimes hidden beneath a polished exterior. Her actions, from manipulating community funds and embezzling charity money, to leveraging political ties with the mayor to legitimize shady transactions, and using the cover of a support organization to engage in blackmail and intimidation, are all slowly being unraveled through evidence that Molly and Cody have gathered together. The most terrifying part? Christina masked it all too perfectly. Had Molly not uncovered discrepancies in the legal documents, the entire town might have continued to praise a false hero. But discovering the truth was only the beginning. When Molly faced the choice, protect the truth or shield it to preserve what was left of the Davis family, there was no easy answer. Yet Cody, who stayed by her side, who witnessed her sleepless nights, her trembling hands as she held the evidence, who never left even when the world began to doubt, he was the one who placed the courage in her hands to confront it all. Cody didn't need to persuade her. His eyes said it all, do the right thing. I'll be with you, no matter what happens. The Davis family, once a symbol of unity, has now shattered into pieces. Alexis remains silent, too torn to choose between two daughters she loves equally. Sam withdrew, saying nothing, protecting no one, choosing to stay on the sidelines, avoiding the moral line altogether. And it was Molly, alone, who stepped into the eye of the storm. Driven by her belief in justice and the resilience she had spent her life building. What she hadn't anticipated was the cost of truth being this high. She lost her sister, her family, and the peace she once thought was untouchable. And during that moment, when all hope seemed drained, Cody remained. Quiet, steady. Not with words of comfort, but with action. It was Cody who first proposed that they not only expose Christina but ensure the law would prevent her from harming anyone else again. To do that, he knew he couldn't stay on the sidelines. He had to become part of the system, not an observer, but an enforcer. One sleepless night, surrounded by unfinished documents, Cody told Molly he was joining the PCPD. He wanted to transform himself into someone useful, someone strong enough to protect her and everything that was right. Mac, who once doubted him, was the one who opened the door for him. Not out of family loyalty, but because he saw something real in Cody, a genuine sense of duty that Cody had long hidden behind sarcasm and swagger. His transformation shocked the entire PCPD team. Cody, once seen as reckless and a burden, now proudly donned a badge he once thought he was unworthy of. And standing by him at his first swearing-in ceremony was Molly. No words were needed. No promises. But in that moment, everything changed. They were no longer just a couple brought together by pain. Now, they were an alliance, strong, decisive, and ready to face anything. The Cody-Molly storyline is no longer just a romance. It has become the center of a moral war, a quest for justice paid for with family. And from this point forward, Port Charles will never be the same, because when these two entered the arena, they vowed not to leave until the truth was restored. Cody has also come closer than ever to a lifelong, silent dream. Becoming a father. From his very first steps into Port Charles, Cody carried with him a yearning for connection, for a real family, not just in name, but in blood, love, and responsibility. With a turbulent past, fractured relationships, and unresolved pain from his youth, fatherhood to Cody isn't just a role. It's the only way he can redefine his worth and identity. And now, as Molly enters his life with unforeseen turns, especially her pregnancy with a child the whole world knows isn't his, something remarkable happens. Cody doesn't run. Instead, he stays. He protects. He volunteers to walk this path with Molly, despite no blood ties, no perfect love story. In that moment, audiences see a new Cody, the kind of man ready to be a father in the truest sense, with heart, with choice, and with commitment. But, as always in Port Charles, just as a spark of light emerges, darkness begins to stir. While Cody prepares for this new chapter with hope, another storm quietly brews, this one tied directly to Sasha. Despite his relationship with Molly, Cody has never abandoned his loyalty to Sasha, the woman who was betrayed, stripped of everything, and nearly crushed by the very system meant to protect her. Cody remains her silent defender, even when no one asks him to. Yet his growing involvement in Sasha's life has sparked backlash, not only in the community but within the legal and media systems of Port Charles. Those who once exploited Sasha now feel threatened by Cody, who holds too much information, too much evidence, and, most importantly, Sasha's absolute trust. Shadowy figures resurface. Old connections are dredged up. A wave of adjustments begins behind the scenes, an orchestrated effort to crush Cody before he gets too powerful. To make matters worse, Cody's desire to be a father is twisted into a weakness. Rumors spread that Cody is taking a shortcut into family life through Molly, that he's using her to fill his own emotional void. Those who once schemed against Sasha now turn their aim on Cody, distorting his intentions and creating a warped public image of a man finally stepping into his power. Amid this chaos, Cody is forced to choose: continue defending Sasha, who once believed in him when no one else did, or focus fully on building a new life with Molly and the child on the way. But Cody refuses to choose just one. He chooses both. Because to him, the value of fatherhood doesn't lie only in raising a child, it's about becoming the man that child can be proud of. A man who stands against injustice, no matter the price. That choice isn't easy. It brings new conflicts, strategic retaliation from those behind Sasha's downfall. And quiet unease from Molly, who begins to realize that Cody's heart now carries too many responsibilities beyond just her. Their relationship begins to waver. Molly starts to wonder. Can a man fighting for so many truly devote himself to being the father of her child? But even amid doubt and chaos, Cody holds firm. No matter how messy his past, no matter how unstable the present, one thing has never changed, his desire to be a protector, for the baby, for Molly, and for Sasha. And it's that desire, in a world as twisted and dual-faced as Port Charles, that's pushing Cody's storyline to new heights. He is no longer a side character. He is the center of a moral, familial, and emotional war. And he's redefining what it means to be a father, through action, not blood. Cody's journey is no longer just about self-discovery. It's about defending everything he believes is right, no matter if he must face the world alone to do it. And when that fire is lit, nothing, not the past, not lies, not enemies, can extinguish the man Cody is becoming. TJ may soon return to Port Charles, and if that happens, it won't just be an emotional reunion, but the ignition of an emotional disaster waiting to explode. What once seemed like a small glimmer of hope for healing old wounds has now become the spark for a love triangle more tangled and dangerous than ever. While Molly is trying to rebuild her life with Cody, the man who chose to stay by her side when everything fell apart, TJ's sudden return resurfaces every suppressed emotion, every unhealed wound, and every unfinished decision, crashing down all at once, raw, chaotic, and uncontrollable. TJ was once the only person Molly trusted, the last piece of a once pure dream. The family she built out of genuine love. But he vanished without a trace, leaving her to face the chaos alone, left with heartbreak, seismic changes to her life, and an unexpected child who has now become the center of her world. It was that very absence that opened the door for Cody. Cody wasn't a replacement for TJ, he was the right person at the right time. Not to save Molly, but to share her burden and help her rebuild something that once seemed lost. But now, with TJ's return, the emotional boundaries Molly worked so hard to establish are beginning to blur. Not because she no longer loves Cody, but because her heart never fully healed from TJ. Old memories flood back. Unanswered questions rise. And above all, the guilt sets in, the guilt of a woman caught between two men, both of whom are worthy, both of whom love her in their own ways. Cody senses this. And the feeling of being pushed to the sidelines again becomes dangerous, to himself. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't confront. But his silence cuts deeper than any argument, an invisible blade slicing through the patience he fought so hard to maintain. He thought he had finally found a family, a place in Molly's life, and a real chance to be the father he's always longed to be. But now, with TJ's return, all of that suddenly feels more fragile than ever. Molly is thrown into a true emotional crisis. Her heart is split in two, her mind in disarray. She sees a future with Cody, a grounded, real possibility of a new beginning. But she also sees her past with TJ, a promise never officially broken. A love she never thought she'd have to let go of. And worse yet, she's carrying TJ's child, while the man who loves her now is Cody, a man who has never known what fatherhood truly feels like. And who is willing to give his entire self just to be that father to her baby. TJ's return won't simply be a shock for Cody and Molly. It will set off a dangerous chain reaction. The Davis family will be pulled back into emotional crossfire. Alexis won't be able to remain neutral when watching her daughters unravel under the weight of Molly's impossible choice. Mac and Felicia, already cautious of Cody, will question even more whether he's strong enough to endure the heartbreak if Molly chooses TJ. And Sasha, the woman Cody once protected at all costs, will also be swept into the aftermath, as she watches the only person who stood by her possibly get left behind for a love he can never fully claim. The love triangle between Cody, Molly, and TJ is no longer a romantic subplot. It's a full-blown emotional disaster in waiting, a battle between past and present, between responsibility and desire, between love and gratitude. And when TJ appears, everything that has been buried will rise to the surface, fiercely, demanding decisions, and guaranteed to shatter at least one heart. Port Charles has never been short on emotional earthquakes, but this time, the quake named TJ won't just shake a couple, it could rattle the very foundations of family, loyalty, and what it means to love truly. And when Cody, Molly, and TJ finally stand face to face in the same room, eyes meeting, words unspoken, questions unresolved, the only thing certain is this: no one will walk away unscathed.